Hey everybody, Lieutenant Joe here for Hope is Not a Tactic, the school safety and security show. Right? We got our nice new sign up here. Sometimes it's down front, sometimes it's in the logo, but right now I got it up here. Hope is not a tactic. So people ask me, where'd you come up with that name? Well, the more I talked to people in schools, and I see some people have awesome plans. They have great ideas. They take it very seriously. They practice very seriously. They are confident in what they're going to do. Everybody knows the procedure and the policies. The district spends the appropriate amount of money to make sure they have the right equipment. And then I talk to other places who basically say what I call the most dangerous thing you can ever say. And that is, it'll never happen here. Now I hear that a lot. People say that a lot. And it's unfortunate. Statistically, they might be right. But the reality is there's going to be between 30 and 60 real active shooter violent incidents in our schools every year. And nobody knows when and where it's going to happen. So it's not low it's 50-50. It happens to you or it doesn't. So the whole idea of having hope we have no problems this year. Hope is not a tactic. Preparation, understanding the potential threats and addressing them appropriately is what is good, right? So that's why we call it hope is not a tactic. So something that has come up a couple of times, I get emails, joe@pangarotraining.com, joe@pangarotraining.com. Hey, Lieutenant, any ideas about this or that or the other thing? And like I said, I never mind discussing those things with you, school people, teachers, administrators, board members, doesn't matter, whatever it is. All right, so what came up was dismissal procedures. Now, I've seen a lot when I do a threat assessment. One of the things I almost always hear is that, could you take a look at our arrival and dismissal activities? Can you give us some ideas? So there was a district I went to in Pennsylvania, and their concern was chaotic traffic. The parents, dropping off and picking up in the afternoon, and they had kids who walked, kids who rode bikes, neighborhood kids. Then they had buses. Then they had, these parent drop-offs. And it's amazing how much the drop-off thing has really taken off, hasn't it? I remember when I was a kid, my parents never drove me to school unless I was really late for some reason. But kids today, lots of parents just feel more comfortable driving their own kids to school and dropping them off. I did that with my kids a lot, believe it or not. And it was just, to me, it was nice extra time in the morning I could spend, with my children. And we took the ride to school and I saw them off and everything was nice. And then I went off to work. But this dismissal, safe school dismissals. So like I said, I do write about a lot of these things, and I have articles that I write about all this stuff, or I write it down. But I figure we talk about this for a couple of minutes based on the concerns I got. People email, hey, here's the 3 concerns we have, the 2 concerns I have, the 10 concerns we have. And I try and formulate that into some kind of a cohesive understanding of what we're looking at. So one of the things that we're looking at is embrace structured routines. Now, most of us have routines in our schools, how the kids come in and when they go. So let's talk about dismissal specifically. At the end of the day, I have seen schools where they open the doors and the kids just go pouring out, and one administrator is out there running around trying to keep track of both sides of a school where you got walkers going out one side, you got bus kids out another, and then a parent lane, and sometimes they're all crisscrossed. It's very dangerous. It's inappropriate. At this one district, not only that, they got the kids out of the school. They had a teacher assigned there. They got the kids out of the school, but once the kids got to the sidewalk, there was a crossing guard there. But the configuration of the street was so weird. It was a 4-way cross, but it was like on an angle. And the kids would go running into the street, and cars were coming, and cars were making rights on red. It was a mess. So that's always a problem. One of the things that we do when we do a threat assessment is I fly a drone, especially in the morning and the afternoon, so that I can see traffic patterns. I can see actually how vehicles really do move around, how people on foot move around, bicycles, all that kind of stuff. It's a different perspective when you see it from up above and you see how everyone is actually moving than when you're down on the ground trying to see all of these things. So embrace a structured system. Routine is good. From day one, teachers should establish consistent dismissal routines. Bus riders light up in one area, walkers in another area, and car riders, in another. Because you want to make sure that you don't have people crossing traffic, you don't have people now. That means you have more personnel out there. Some districts, part of the teacher contract is that they will assist with arrival or dismissal or playground duties or whatever it is. A lot of schools don't have that in their contract, and you're relying on the school management to handle those things. See what you can do to get that in your contract. Give them a little stipend, but everyone has to have a job in the morning or the afternoon or playground duty or whatever. It gives you more personnel to make sure people are in the right spot with their eyes to see, radios to call for help, pay attention to what's going on. All right, number two, communication is the key. When you establish these areas, and I know not every school has enough room to have buses here, cars there, but look around and see if you do. One district in New York that I did an assessment for, I looked at it and boy, they had everybody in the same area. It was a nightmare. And they were right. And they said, we're real concerned about this. It gets close. Well, I'm out there in the morning flying my drone looking at people and I'm watching, people stopping short, buses trying to pull in, cars going around the buses, nightmare. But they had a huge piece of property around the front and the side of the building. And I gave them some suggestions of how they could at least move the kids who are on foot and the drop-off area to another part of the school. Now they had to put personnel there, but people who were being dropped off by the parents came through the parking lot, a different area than the school buses. So you separated those two groups of people. That was a good thing. And then I suggested to them, for a longer term capital gains kind of a thing, capital improvement, is that use that big giant area they had to set up a different system right here, a dedicated specific area where parents who would come were completely disassociated from the school bus area because they still were close to each other even though they were separated. So if you could separate them, that's a good thing. But communication is the key. Write to the parents, send them notes, let them know the processes, the procedures, let them know what the problems are. Right? If you have personnel out there, that's very helpful. All right. Strategic staffing and supervision is one of the things to consider. And this is, again, like approaching danger. We want to have people positioned during lunchtime if kids are outside, during recess time if they're outside, arrival and dismissal. Make sure we have people in the right spots that can see. And I always say wear a vest and have a radio, right? So then you have a visual cue that someone is watching. The whole idea if somebody wants to do something bad, they see that and maybe they move on, okay? So keep that in mind. Traffic flow and pedestrian. The drone really helps, I'm telling you. You see things that you just, oh, wow, look at that. Matter of fact, I remember one time we were doing this and one of my assessors was there watching the video and says, why don't they simply, this road they have here goes all the way around. Why don't they do parent pickup around the back? And I said, I don't know. There must be some reason they don't do it that way. And I asked the principal, and I think she said, we thought about it, but we didn't know how difficult it would be to set that all up. And we went and looked. And basically, it meant putting 2 or 3 personnel out in that area and telling everybody, sending messaging to everybody, that's the pickup area. Put up some signs, parent pickup area this way. Totally disconnected them from the bus lanes and not. So it was helpful. So use that technology, see what you can. Unpredictable situations. This is something you have to plan on. What if something happens during that dismissal period? I have seen accidents, parents they're annoyed. Their kid got in the car early and they have to wait in that line to pull out and they're busy and they whip around and they have an accident. Are you prepared for that? Do you have a protocol for an accident in the parking lot? Do you have security who's watching it? So take a look at those things. Reinforce positive behavior. When you see people acting appropriately, make sure you let them know, hey, you're doing the right thing. Get your people involved, your personnel. Let them make suggestions. One of the best things you could probably do is a tabletop drill where you sit down, whoever's going to be out there, whatever staff is out there at dismissal, and come up with different scenarios. What happens if a parent shows up who is the non-custodial parent and they show up 5 minutes before the custodial parent, and they want to take possession of the child. How do you know that? Do you have a protocol to deal with that? All right. So tabletops are great for getting everybody involved and letting everyone voice opinions because you'd be surprised some of the very good ideas you'll get from your staff. I always looked at this way. You make widgets. You're the owner of a company that makes widgets, and everybody in the offices, all the suit and tie people, they have all these ideas. Why don't you ask the people down on the ground who are making the widgets? Is there a better way to do this? You'll often find good answers. And the same thing with our staff. They often have good ideas. We just don't always ask them. So go out there and ask your people what they can do. All right. Let's see. I have a 10-point checklist that I hear. Now, again, this is an article that's out there. I think it's in campus safety. I'm not sure, but I put it out on my social media. So if you maybe I'll put it in the information for this particular show, how you can get to the information on my site where we have it. All right. So my 10 points are standardize your procedures and your routines. Make sure you standardize them. They can't change every other day. Consider weather. I consider the weather, snow weather, rainstorms, lightning. How are you going to do things differently? Try and cover all that. Parent notification systems. How do you tell parents if you have to change something, right? Where do you expect them to go? Pickup verification. Important. Who picks up these kids? Now, I've seen a lot of districts where they get the kids out the front door and the kids know where to go. The kids know where the pickup line is, and you have a few personnel there to make sure no one gets hit by a car. But how do you know that that child is getting in a car with the appropriate person to pick up? So my example, the non-custodial parent knows the kid gets out of school at a certain time, pulls up, beep, beep, beep. Hey, Mary. Hey, little Johnny. Here I am. Daddy's here. And they come running over because it's daddy. They get in the car and go. Meantime, mom is 8 cars back. And how come? Why did you let my child go with the father? He's not supposed to. He's non-custodial. Whatever. What if a strange person is there? You never know. These kind of things can happen. So, how do you verify who's picking up the kids? Something to consider. Um, Dedicated staff supervision, all right, making sure we have a plan, we understand what we're doing, we have people out there that know the plan, have communication, and can supervise what's going on, who's doing what. Use technology integration, so there's tracking tools. There's dismissal apps where you could put all the information in and keep track of it. I have to look into those in all honesty. I've heard about them. They seem a little cumbersome to me, but if anybody out there has them, you want to tell me how you like it, Joe at pangarotraining.com, tell me, and maybe we'll get you on and we'll talk about it. But I've heard about them. I'm going to look into them. Flexibility protocols, emergency and exception handling procedures. What do you do if you have an emergency? How do you notify everybody? So another article you may want that I wrote, it went out pretty good. It hit a lot of places. It's called The Three Pillars of Survival Plus One. And the three pillars of survival are preparation, right? You got to be prepared for whatever it is. Active shooter response, drop off in the morning, nights and weekends, whatever. You have to have a preparation. You got to prepare everybody with plans, procedure, and practice. How do I want people to do? Number two is communication. How does everybody on your staff communicate that there's a problem, there's danger, there's some other kind of a situation that everyone needs to be aware of? Radios, do they do it by cell phone? Do they yell to each other? What is it? So communication is key. How do we communicate to the parents that today we're going to be dropping off and picking up over here because of construction or whatever? And then the third one is notification. How do we call for help? How do we call law enforcement for help, right? So the three pillars of survival are involved in this. It's a great article. It's been published in lots of places, so you can go out and find it on the internet. Trauma-aware strategies. So I guess the idea here, I talked about trauma-informed care, and this has become more and more important to understand, if a child had some kind of a problem at pickup or dismissal, we all know in the beginning of the year, especially with our little ones, they go out there, they're not sure what bus to get on. Some kids are crying. They get on the wrong bus. The parents are panicked. Everyone's panicked. So we want to make sure that, we have trauma-informed care. If a kid has had a problem, how do we make sure that child gets on the right bus till they're comfortable doing it and they don't have a problem with that? Behavioral reinforcement, promote positive behavior when you see it, when you see the kids doing the right thing, when you see the parents doing the right thing, and pick up drivers, all that kind of stuff. And then review constantly how things are going. Do a tabletop exercise to try and figure out how you can handle some different things. All right. So that's some ideas on dismissal. And I do have people reach out to me all the time. The article is more in depth than this. These are just ideas for you to think about. So if you have any questions, joe@pangarotraining.com, joe@pangarotraining.com. I want to thank you for being here. Remember, our sponsors are riottint.com. They make the glazing, the safety glazing for windows, the film to keep you safe. Blue360media.com, my publisher, and medicalessentialdiagnostics.com. They're from New Jersey. If you're in New Jersey, you're a teacher, you're in a school district, you're law enforcement, first responder, that kind of thing. They can get you a physical, a health screening for you and 2 adult members of your family at no cost to you. They're excellent. They got 6 locations, but unfortunately, they're only in New Jersey right now. But those are our sponsors. Take a look at all their stuff. They'll help you keep your school safe. I trust them all. All right, so until we meet again, go watch the other episodes. Make sure you subscribe, tell your friends, and get them to subscribe. We're here to keep our schools safe. We'll see you next time.